like to call the November 12th regular council meeting of the city of Twinsburg to order. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Here.
Ms. McFerrin?
Here.
Mr. Bellin?
Here.
Mr. Fury?
Here.
Mr. Scafidi?
Here.
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Okay. All rise. Let's join Mr. McFerrin for the invocation of the Pledge of Allegiance.
Today, the day after Veterans Day, we would like to honor our veterans, worthy men and women who gave their best when they were called upon to serve and protect their country. We pray that you will bless them for their unselfish service in their continual struggle to preserve our freedoms, our safety, and our country heritage for all of us. And now if you'll just join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did anybody come up and sign up for remonstrance? I didn't make an announcement.
I believe so. But
Okay, just want to know. Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the October 22nd meeting.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second. Shannon?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay. Minutes are approved 7-0. Next is awards and presentations. Mayor.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. Tonight, this day after Veterans Day, we'd like to honor our local VFW with a proclamation. We recognize them throughout the year, but they really add a special benefit to our town and, of course, to all our veterans. And so we'd like to have Joe come up. You can bring the whole crew if you want, but so I can read a proclamation. And just a special thanks to, I guess, all the veterans that are here tonight. If you're a veteran, could you please stand? All right, thank you. Yeah, these are the main guys who are VFW here. All right, I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas the administration, council, and residents of the city of Twinsburg, Ohio extend heartfelt appreciation and gratitude to the Twinsburg VFW Post 4929. And whereas Twinsburg VFW Post 4929 was established in 1945 under the leadership of Joe Jasny, who has been commander since 2001. It has flourished to become a great support to veterans and a tribute to the city of Twinsburg. Whereas in 2017, the Post dedicated Twinsburg Veterans Park, which is a handicapped accessible tribute to all veterans. That same year, VFW members converted the Post meeting rooms to a museum to showcase historical items and photos. It was then that the Post's name was changed to VFW Post 4929 and Museum. Whereas one of the most remarkable accomplishments to date was bringing the American Veterans Traveling Tribute and Cost of Freedom Tribute Wall to Twinsburg in July 2015. Thousands descended onto Twinsburg to visit this tribute and pay their respects. And whereas every Memorial Day, the Twinsburg community gathers for the Memorial Day Parade, a tribute to veterans, it follows with an assembly on the square to honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And whereas Twinsburg VFW Post 4929 continues to remain active within the community. Twice a year, a post transports veterans at the VFW Health Facility in Cleveland to Twinsburg for a luncheon with members and their families. The VFW Color Guard is present at many events around the city, such as sporting events, patriotic programs, and Relay for Life. Members also sponsor Veterans Resource Fairs at Twinsburg High School and coordinates transportation for members to health facilities. Now therefore, I, Ted Yates, Mayor of the City of Twinsburg, express my sincere appreciation and gratitude to Twinsburg VFW Post 4929 and thank the members for not only their brave service to our country, but their continued commitment and service to all veterans in our community. Thank you. All right. All right. Thank you, VFW. We also have another proclamation tonight.
I don't think I have more wall space.
I'm dead on.
This is for Al Smolik. Come on up here, Al. Well, you're about to find out. All right. So
Tell
if
you.
you guys want to spread out a little bit, well, I'll be recognized. All right. So we have a proclamation for you. Al's been inducted into the Ohio Military Hall of Fame. And so this is a special time, I know for the Post, and a special time for Al, but we also wanted to recognize him with a proclamation. So I'm going to read it. Whereas the administration, council, and residents of the city of Twinsburg, Ohio, extend a heartfelt congratulations to Alan Smolik for his induction into the Ohio Military Hall of Fame for valor. Whereas on January 31st, 1968, while serving as a crew chief of a UH-1D helicopter from Company A, 25th Aviation Battalion, on a combat operation for the Tansun Defense Command, Specialist Alan Smolik was informed that 35 men were surrounded in their quarters at an air base without weapons, ammunition, or food, and he volunteered to fly the necessary supplies. Whereas in total darkness and while evading enemy sniper fire, Specialist Smolik courageously maneuvered to the location of the air base and assisted in unloading the necessary supplies. And whereas there is no doubt his valorous actions prevented many casualties and contributed immeasurably to the success of the mission and the defeat of the enemy force, Specialist Smolik's bravery and devotion to duty speak to the highest honor of the military and reflect great honor and bravery upon himself, his unit, and the 25th Infantry Division and the United States Army. Whereas on May 4th, 1968, he was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross by the Department of the Army, 25th Infantry Division, thus qualifying him for the Ohio Military Hall of Fame for Valor, where he was inducted on May 3rd, 2019. Alan Smolik remains a very active within the VFW Post 4929 in Twinsburg. He was instrumental in helping plan the Cost of Freedom celebrations in 2015, and he maintained Veteran Park and carries the American flag at many events VFW Post 4929 participates in. Now therefore, I, Ted Yates, Mayor of the City of Twinsburg, express my sincere congratulations to Alan Smolik on the induction into the Ohio Military Hall of Fame for Valor. I thank him for his brave service to this country and extend gratitude for his continued service in our community. All right, thanks, guys.
Great job.
Some say that they're leaving because of their meeting. Some say they're only leaving because they have a meeting.
Good evening. Hope everybody survived the the first snowfall. You know, the police and fire departments were nonstop today, so I'm ready to go home and go to bed after this. But I am with the Twinsburg Police Association. I also help coordinate the Shop with a Cop program. This year I wanted to recognize our biggest supporters and businesses that help us to pull off the event. For those of you that aren't aware of the Shop with a Cop program, it's for underprivileged kids, kids with deployed parents, kids with terminal illnesses, and this is going to be our 8th year of the program. And over the years we've gotten bigger, and bigger. So to date, we've taken 263 kids shopping, and we've raised over $36,488. And you know, that's not possible without donors from the community, the businesses in town, and even the non-monetary donations that are made by some businesses that just make it more exciting for the kids that otherwise would never have a Christmas or get to experience that magic that we all loved growing up. So I'm going to call these guys up first and say a little something about them first. So first, Giannino's at Twinsburg, Phil and Linda Rep, if you guys could come up. If you guys could just slide down a little bit. So, instead of you know, the everyday plaque that you see handed out and stuff, I want to do something a little bit more special since you know they are closely related to our police family. We had these flags created that they can display in their businesses as a show of our appreciation. So we started having lunch for all the kids. Last year we had 86 kids. We invited the kids and their immediate family members to come have lunch with us at the high school afterwards, and we ended up having, like, with our volunteers, our kids, and the family members, we had like 400 some people. Phil and Linda fed every single one of them, and then also sent every kid home with a gift card for free pizza. So it's just absolutely phenomenal what you guys do for the community and continue to do for us. You guys very awesome. We love it. Yeah, just hang tight, slide down. We'll get a picture after we get the other.
Because of what they do.
Next, I want to bring up Ron Gizzo, COO of Bad Lyman VMS here in town. So I don't know if anybody's ever seen the SWAT truck go through town on the Sunday morning of the day of the event. Last year, Ron offered to wrap the SWAT truck, and it was a big Grinch. He wrapped the entire SWAT truck in a big Grinch. It was kind of like overtaking the thing. So, you know, the kids just loved it. You know, we go down to Stowe. We meet up with all the other agencies and their kids, and everybody just loved the graphics on the truck. And, you know, he does that free of charge, and it's, you know, it's great what he does and what they continue to do. And we got them a plaque as well, our flag. UH wasn't able to make it. UH has also been our corporate sponsor for the last 6 years. And so I got them a flag too that they can hang up at their corporate headquarters. Next I want to bring up Lou Colorito and John Houston of Ascendant. John and Lou have financially contributed a substantial amount of money that has allowed us to continue to grow and take even more kids shopping. Like I said, last year was 86 kids. I just couldn't say no. I had the money. They helped provide that money. It's hard to say no to these kids that otherwise wouldn't be able to go shopping. So we found volunteers and we found room. Kathy Powers gave me a school bus last year so that I didn't have to say no to anybody. But John and Lou, thank you. We got a flag for you guys to hang up, and hope you guys can display that with pride for what you guys do for us. Thank you. John and Lou also, in addition to the money they provide, they also bought 12 bikes last year, and we raffled off the bikes to the kids, and I mean, the kids are awesome. If you guys never seen these kids or what happens at this event, I invite you to come out on December 14th. and join in and just see and share that day with us. It's really incredible to see the kids enjoy that day. Would you guys like to say anything?
No, just thank you. We're happy to help. And we have 12 more bikes coming this year.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys. Can we get guys to stand together so we can get a picture? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bring family and everything. So, very busy night. We also have the honor of swearing in a new sergeant tonight. Alan Ternosky, who's been with the department for 15 years. Been with DB for probably, what, 7? 8? 7? Okay. I know we're excited for this promotion. I think the department's excited. He's very much a valued member of our police force. Has done a great job over the years and has definitely earned this. So, if you could, let's go ahead and do this. Raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I, Alan R. Ternosky,
I, Alan R. Ternosky,
do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
the Charter, ordinances, and resolutions
the Charter, ordinances, and resolutions
of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio,
of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio,
and will faithfully,
and will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
as a police sergeant
as a police sergeant
of the Twinsburg Police Department
of the Twinsburg Police Department
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
as I shall answer to God.
as I shall answer to God. Congratulations. Thanks.
Congrats, Al. We're so glad to have him. Al is actually in charge of one of the night shifts now, so I sleep very well at night knowing that Al's out there. Don't wake me up. So, but lots of changes in the department. We're continuing to move on and grow, and it's just fun for me watching the officers that I've had a hand in hiring as they move forward in their careers as well. So. Congratulations, very well deserved, very proud of you.
Thanks, sir. All right, thanks, sir.
10 minutes?
I'll do it.
8 o'clock,
Okay.
we'll be back.
All right. I said break, I didn't mean the mics. Okay, 10 minutes. We'll be back at 8 o'clock. Audience participation.
First, we have Daisy Walker.
Forgot to sign up.
I got you, Mr. Baldwin.
Sign
Go
in.
ahead.
Go
I
ahead,
got
sign
it.
up.
I got it.
Now?
We got it.
I got you.
She's got you.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay, good evening. What a night, huh? It's beautiful. Brings back memories. Okay. Well, if I knew what I was doing here, we'd go a little quicker, wouldn't we? Good evening, Council. Bruce Baldwin, 3310 Cannon Road. About 9:30 Tuesday morning, week before election, a car drove in my driveway. Nice young man. Walked up to me in the front yard and said that, I asked if I could help him. I don't know if he's lost. I didn't recognize the car. And he said if I could help him, he says he's from the city, I didn't see any shirt that said city on it. I didn't see any kind of a tag unless I missed it. I could have missed it. He didn't leave me any kind of a business card. And I asked him, I said, well, what can I do for you? He said, you have to move your signs in your yard. Well, I didn't put them there, and I didn't know they were illegal because they wouldn't have been there if I knew they were illegal. Very nice young man. So I said, oh, okay. He said, they're too close to the road. I said, well, I'm very sorry about that. If I'd known that, I said, I wouldn't have done it. So I talked to him for a couple minutes. So as I said, I'll move them right now. Let me move them right now. So as he's leaving the driveway, I'm moving the signs, and the Liberty Park, there's a sign there. And the only reason it got taken down, a car flew around the corner and hit it because it was going too slow. We got to speed the traffic up. We're going way too slow there. And I said I was sorry, and I'm really sorry about it. I would never put those there on purpose. So on my way, as I'm going, leaving, because I said before, as I went to lunch, and not that I really count that well, I went to school in Twinsburg, almost graduated a couple times, so he says, I counted 33 different signs. Why didn't people move those? I stopped counting at 33. I'm the only one they came to because I'm that good looking? All right, so I said, well, be careful, because when you tell the truth, I think sometimes they get you in trouble. Thank you. Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And next we have Daisy Walker.
Thank you, Shannon. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Maestros, Mr. Barr, Ms. McPherson, Mr. Steele, Mr. Fury, Mr. Scafidi, Mr. Bella, and staff. This is going to be really difficult for me, but just kind of bear with me. And it's regarding my tenure on the Environmental Commission. It was almost 16 years. Next February, it would have been 16 years for me. And when I interviewed with council 2 years ago, I mentioned I just wanted one more year. Don't know why I said it, or one more term, but sometimes when you say things, you know that God has greater for you. I just want to put it like that. And what I want to read is that, and also to inform you that when we do our announcements, and when Mr. Barr does our announcements so wonderfully, it's a lot about our cleanup, our free shredding, our Earth Day, and a lot of other things that we do. But I went down memory lane, and I just want to tell you, I keep everything. Since I was on the commission in 2004, I have minutes from 2004 and probably before that. But just to let you know that the Environmental Commission, not only do we do the 4 main things that I stated earlier, we have gone to workshops, and a couple ones we went to was the Silver Lake training on lawn and pet care. The residents in Silver Lake, they took their puppies and dogs around Silver Lake, and they picked up the waste and they threw it in Silver Lake, and that lake was contaminated for a couple years. That sparked my attention, number one, and I'm thinking, yes, I'm glad to be on the Environmental Commission because I have something more to report. Also, we did go to Beechwood City Hall, some of the commissioners and I, and we received a lot of environmental updates. Some of the things that we did back in 2014, and the only ones that were on the committee at that time was Mr. Fury and Mr. Scafidi. And so for you newer comers here, we talked to Arbor Glen Apartments on Ravenna Road, and they had our first recycling. There was our first apartment recycling that we gave our containers to. Our second one was the Twinsburg Hilton Hotel. That was our second business, so they're still recycling to this day. The gift cards, the grants, the scholarships, the Get Caught Green-Handed money, the Environmental Commission received over $10,000. We had over $2,000 in gift cards to give out for our Earth Day event, for our free shredding event. Lowe's and Home Depot gave us $100 gift cards annually. We gave those out as prizes. We wrote a $5,000 Cleveland Indian grant for our baseball field, and that was, I think, 2014. We received over 500 apples from Giant Eagle, candies, snacks. From Vista, we received stuffed birds from the Audubon Society, T-shirts, reusable bags, plants, trees, and seeds. The Environmental Commission, we did more than our cleanup, our free shredding, our Earth Day, just to let you know. Back in 2015, we did a dedication to the Twinsburg High School. It was a living garden, and what that garden was to honor the students who have passed away, and Salvarino Brothers donated a couple trees for that. In 2014, we had two plots at was known as our Twinsburg Community Garden.
1 minute.
And we had a lot of Girl Scouts and children. It was called the Sproutin' Gardeners. And they planted flowers and vegetables. The children learned how to eat from a healthier lifestyle. We worked with an Eagle Scout, Zaid Kleckner, to get promoted, from a Scout to an Eagle Scout. And before Zaid got promoted, he worked diligently with the Environmental Commission on his rain barrel project, and he installed 30 rain barrels for city residents. A couple years ago, we recognized 4 cleanup volunteers in Twinsburg and for cleaning up the streets in the city of Twinsburg. These residents work persistently to keep Twinsburg naturally beautiful, and they're still on our streets doing it. Probably not right now, but they are still diligent in doing their work.
Time.
We had a recognition to the mayor and 2 council members for Earth Day. They were given a flag that was flown over the Capitol. And they were given to Mayor Yates, Sam Scafidi, and Bill Fury. And these public officials believe in the future of Twinsburg, bringing real business perspective and responsible management. So that's one of the reasons why we do it, and it will be continued. Just to give you some of the things, that to let you know that, we still had it going on. On a personal note, we worked with all the department heads, Public Works, Engineering, all of them, to help the Environmental Commission be the committee that it is right now. We've sent flowers to our secretaries. We've made luncheons 3 years for our service department for doing such a great job. We've brought breakfast to the city employees and the Service Works employees. Just to let you know that we love our job, we love our community, and we do love our employees that work here. In closing, I would like to celebrate Mr. John Cease's, and I think the mayor gave a proclamation for Mr. Cease. And what the mayor did, his secretary sent me a draft copy of the proclamation and said, Daisy, you know him, critique this and let me know if it's okay to give to him. And it was really good. I have that on my computer too. And just to know that John was one of the founding members of the Environmental Commission from 1998 until 2011. And he was my role model. I learned a lot from him. And I had the pleasure of working with John from 2004 until 2011. His mission statement of the Environmental Commission is to advise City of Twinsburg leaders on matters pertaining to the preservation of public peace, health, safety, and welfare as they affect environmental issues. John Cease had a quote, and I would like to quote his quote. And it says, in our way of life, in our government, with every decision we make, we will always keep in mind the 7th generation to come. It's our job to see that the people coming ahead, the generations still unborn, have a world no worse than ours, and hopefully better. I hope that we will spend more time looking out the window than into the mirror. I would like to thank you guys for entrusting in me almost 16 years ago I knew nothing about the Environmental Commission. I went back to school to take up environmental studies because I wanted to do something different and I wanted to be the best. I wanted to work with the best team. We worked with the best team, and I have to give you guys credit. When you pick residents to be on a commission, you never know who you have and what they're going to do until you give us a chance to spread our wings. And I would like to thank you so much for giving me that opportunity to spread my wings as I go on to something even more greater. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you.
Next, we have Sheila Williams.
Hello, everyone. I have three things. One is city business, the other two are me. I'm going to deal with the me part first. You know, I've lived in this community probably almost 40 years, probably more than anyone that's sitting here on council and a lot of the people that come in. And one thing I liked about Twinsburg and continue to like about Twinsburg is the diversity, the ability to work together, and at some point used to be a sense of politeness. You know, Jim Karaback was known for a handshake. His word was good. There has been this election the worst division that I think I've seen in the almost 40 years I've been here. And I'm going to say to everyone, you are elected officials. You are elected by the people of this community. Everyone is not going to be happy, nor is everybody going to be unhappy. But this is one community, and it's been splintered this election. And it's my hope that the two sides can find some happy medium here, because property value is tied to it, community involvement is tied to it, your jobs are tied to it, and it doesn't have to be like it's been. Me and Ms. Clark talked about it on election day, and it's very disheartening to me because I've seen the best of the city. I've been a part of the worst of the city with things that I have challenged. And, you know, and I'm standing here today to say to all of you, let us reevaluate where we are going as a city. It is very important that we can agree to disagree without maligning each other. The nastiness, things said to children, it's just very insultive to me. And it's very hard for me or any other resident to say, move to Twinsburg, knowing there's this undercurrent of confusion. So that's the me talking that's lived here almost 40 years. You know, because I've seen a lot of things here, and I could tell all of you a story, from Karaback to Kathy to Yates, where I've had disagreements. But respect has still been shown on both sides, and I just didn't feel that way this year. And I hope that, Brian, as you leave, you will stay involved for the betterment of this city, because I think you love this city. We don't have to agree, but we are one Twinsburg. I tell people all the time, I may talk about you like a dog, but you can't come to my city and talk about any one of you. I'm going to defend all of you. And I would expect that from all of you as elected officials for this city. This is one Twinsburg. It is not two. It's not old versus new. It is one community where everyone pays tax dollars. So I'm through with that. I want to talk about this ordinance on family. I have been reading this and reading this and reading this, and I'm trying to, could somebody tell me where this came from? Are we talking about borders and houses, rumors, people in houses? We have an ordinance that's going to be...
I don't think you were here when we did the earlier meeting, but we're going to kill that tonight.
Okay, well, thank you, because it's been bogging my mind, so thank you very much for telling me that, Bill. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is the opioid lawsuit. We have a meeting Thursday with the health department. Hopefully at the next council meeting I'll have more information. I know that the state is trying to confiscate all the money hopefully we will have a better idea as to how that money is going to be dispersed. I know most of it is for education and outreach. The health department's position has always been, we are not in the rehab business, but we will offer some wraparound support services. So I can see us getting a chunk of money and being in charge of funneling it out and monitoring it to agencies that are doing things with the opioid problem. It is still extremely large, and the vaping is overtaking all of that in the news right now. But the opioid problem is well and live, and people should not think because they're not seeing it on the news that it's still not as bad as it was. And I'm looking forward to changes and a bright future in Twinsburg. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sheila.
That is all.
Okay. Next, we're on to council communication and committee reports. Bell.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Steele. I attended the Truck or Treat event put on the Twinsburg Fitness Center on the 27th of October. It was an awesome event, as always, with a great turnout. I want to thank the folks at the Twinsburg Fitness Center for making that happen. I also want to thank the Twinsburg CERT team and the Twinsburg Police Department for their visibility on Trick or Treat Night on Halloween. Tons of kids out and about, and I saw both CERT and the police department out and about, and just makes you feel good as a parent as you're walking around in the rain and snow and those kind of things. So, and finally, I just want to thank everybody who voted, those who worked the polls on November 5th, and especially those who participated in the election process. I really do appreciate it. The Architectural Review Board met on Thursday, November 7th. There were 7 cases on the agenda that evening. Case 1911-112 was a single-family home demolition at 9833 East Idlewood Drive, which was approved. Case 1911-113 was a pergola at 9554 Andrew Drive, which was approved. Case 1910-114 was a home addition at 2266 Champion Trail, which was approved. Case 1911-115 was a porch overhang located at 1323 Sharon Brook Drive, which is approved. Case 1911-116 was a new single-family home at 1668 Bridget Lane, approved. Case 1911-117 was a new single-family home in Whispering Woods at 8767 Maryville Drive, which was approved. Finally, case 1911-118 was another porch overhang at 1101 Sharon Brook Drive, which was approved. The next ARB meeting will be held on Thursday, November 21st, 6 p.m. here in council chambers. And the final Golf Advisory Board meeting of 2019 will be held on Tuesday, November 19th, 6:30 p.m. also here in council chambers. That concludes my report for this evening. Thank you, sir.
Greg, the house on East Idlewood
Yes,
is
sir.
the one
Yes.
that we,
Yes, it was part of that same
the
program.
floodplain
Yes, the
thing.
floodplain,
Yeah,
yep,
okay.
exactly.
okay. Mr. Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. Good evening. The Environmental Commission has not met, but I would like to take the opportunity to thank Mrs. Walker for all of her work. It was a pleasure working with you as a member of the Environmental Commission before my time here on council, and certainly as the council rep for the last couple of years. Daisy puts her heart and soul into everything she does, and I think that's clearly made evident here this evening. But the Environmental Commission was very, very, very lucky to have you. So thank you so much, and looking forward to working with you here in your new role as a council representative. So congratulations on that. The Planning Commission met November 4th. There were 2 items on the agenda that evening. One was the final site plan for the Wilcox Meadows Senior Apartments at 9422 Darrow Road. That is in the R7 Senior Residential District. Darrow Road Development, Greg Summers were here to answer questions. There was some discussion with the developer at that meeting. A couple of important things to note, some takeaways. The Wilcox Meadows developer and the Belmar Homeowners Association have a memorandum of understanding, a letter that is signed by both parties agreeing to and approving sort of the grading plan, some of the site work, the buffer, the trees to be planted, things like that. Personally, I found that to be a very positive note between the two parties working together. The final site plan was approved with some conditions, final engineering approval, stormwater pollution protection plan, some revised plans with revisions of the street signs, things of that nature. It was passed in Planning Commission 4-1 to seek approval by council. And I know we are going to discuss that there is a public hearing before council votes on that. And I'll mention it, we can mention it again, Mr. Steele, if I may.
Go ahead.
Tuesday, December 10th, at 6:30 p.m., there will be a public hearing here in council chambers to discuss approval of the Wilcox Meadow site plan before council votes on it that evening. So I encourage everybody, I know this has been a contentious subject, but I encourage everybody to participate in the process. You know, making your voices heard does not end at the voting booth. Come on in, talk to us. We want to hear what you have to say. Finally, Planning Commission also discussed Chapter 1173 of our revised sign code. This was just sort of a cursory look at what is being proposed. The long and short is we are bringing our sign code up to date to meet new ordinances and challenges and court rulings placed on us as far as sign content, content neutrality, what we can and can't regulate. So as planning works through that, I'm sure that we will have some more updates for you. But that is a work in progress right now, and I'm pleased to say that Planning Commission is making some good progress on that. The next Planning Commission meeting will be here Monday, the 18th, so this coming Monday at Council Chambers at 7 p.m. There are a few items on the agenda, and hopefully we will see you there. The Public Works Commission was scheduled, a Public Works meeting was scheduled for this evening, was canceled due to lack of agenda items, and I don't know if we have a date for the next one of those. That is all I have for this evening, Mr. Steele. Thank you.
The agreement between the Belmar homeowners and the developer,
Yes.
do you know, I just have a question from the homeowner side. Was it just their executive board that agreed to it, or did they go out and talk to
So my understanding, I don't have that document in front of
Okay.
me. The understanding I have was that it was signed by the president of
Yeah.
the homeowner association.
Mr. Kopp, I know.
The, I believe the secretary treasurer, and I believe an at-large member of the association. So I believe there were 3 members, but
Okay.
that's my understanding of
But
who signed it.
not sure that whether they asked all the homeowners in Belmar.
I cannot answer that conclusively. I apologize. I don't have
That's
that
okay.
information.
Okay.
Mr. Steele, I can tell you that there's an email list going around of, I don't know if it's all the residents, but of residents, that they've certainly been made aware of kind of all the proceedings of that particular plan.
Sure.
So-
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've just seen some things that some people that are not happy with
Absolutely.
what's
Yep.
going on.
Yep.
So I just wonder if they talk to everybody, and is the majority opinion of the residents that they?
I don't know. I can certainly
Okay.
ask. yeah.
There were a few residents in attendance at the last
Mhm.
planning commission meeting that were
Okay.
provided with the opportunity to speak. Nobody spoke for or against at that planning commission meeting.
Okay,
That's all I have. Thank you again.
thanks. Next, Mr. Scafidi.
Thank you. The next Board of Zoning Appeals meeting will be on Wednesday, November 27th, right here in the council chambers at 6:30. We haven't had a meeting in a while, and so they've got some agenda items that they'll take care of that evening. And that's all I have with my report. I just want to send out a congratulations to Mayor Yates on his reelection, to Ms. McFerrin on her reelection, Mr. Fury, and to Ms. Daisy Walker on her election to council. I look forward to working with all of you, as well as with Mr. Barr and Mr. Bellin for the next 4 years. I think that we're going to have a continued success in the next 4 years. I know we're going to work hard as we have in the past, and I look forward to working with them again. Finally, I just want to shout out to the residents of Ward 1 and thank all the residents of Ward 1 for their overwhelming support, sending me back to City Hall as their representative for the next 4 years. I truly appreciate their confidence in me on a 5th term to represent them, and I assure them that I will work as hard and to make our ward stand out and be #1 as I have in the past. So thank you very much, residents of Ward 1, and I look forward to working with all the departments as well, as I think we really have a good relationship. I feel that we do. I know sometimes you guys think that maybe get a little mad at me because I'm a little pushy, but that's okay. The residents like that, and that's what we do. So thank you, all the departments, for all your help in assisting and working towards the best Ward 1 that we could have here. I appreciate that very much. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Ms. McFerrin.
I also attended the Trunk and Treats event, and I have to say I was so amazed at the sponsors that participated and the kids in their costumes and even the parents in their costumes. It was a great event. We had one meeting, the Parks and Recreation Committee met. It was a very, very short meeting, and nothing was accomplished, or nothing needed to be accomplished. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Fury.
Good evening. The Finance Committee will meet on Tuesday, November 26th at 6 p.m. The CIC will meet on the 18th of November, which is next Monday at 6 p.m. at Council Chambers. I want to wish everybody a happy Veterans Day. One of the things as we celebrated the veterans today, I don't think it was brought up that as I'm going around Ravenna Road, I'm starting to see the pictures of the Twinsburg veterans that have been placed on the flagpoles or the telephone poles, which I thought was really a neat idea. The city co-opted that with the VFW to honor those who had served that are residents of the city. And I know many of those people. Some of them I don't know, but I thought it was a great tribute. And I've seen it done in other cities, and I really liked it. I would also like to wish a happy birthday to all my fellow Marines. It was a 245th birthday on Sunday, so Semper Fi. And I would also like to mirror Sam's comments. We've been sitting here for 16 years, and when we came here, the senior members were Andy Romito and Bill Hahn. So you're the Italian one, so you
get to be Andy Romito.
And
you're Bill Hahn.
But I would like to thank the residents for allowing me to have a 5th term as well. I look forward to working with everybody else on council as well as those in our community. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. None of my committees met. Obviously, the election happened last week. I want to congratulate everybody that won. It was an interesting time, to say the least. Sheila, you were right. The city needs to move forward. I am still and still will be of the opinion that financial problems are headed at this city, and you guys are going to have your work cut out for you, but I think you'll get it taken care of. I sure hope so. To Sam and Bill, yeah, you've been here 5 years or 5 terms, and now I'm pretty sure the chairs were a lot smaller. That they've grown with you guys growing into them. Other than that, I have nothing else to say. Okay, Mayor, you're up.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I also want to comment on the banners that we have along Ravenna Road and around the square. Township was gracious to let us use some of their poles down there to extend these banners down into the downtown central area. I want to thank Chris Campbell for really bringing this idea to us. We brought in the VFW. And again, it's something that we're fortunate enough and talented enough to be able to do this internally and produce these banners. And a lot of municipalities do it, and they charge the families of the veterans to put them up. And we decided against that, and I think we're going to end up with more veterans than we have poles. So we'll have a situation where we'll have a rotation of veterans on Memorial Day and Veterans Day. So I think it's going to be great to showcase them in our city. Second, a couple of things that I've attended recently. I was able to go to the inauguration of Todd Dykin for Kent State University, and I'm on the advisory board for our Twinsburg branch here. But it was really it was a fabulous event. I'd never been to one for a college university president, and it was just very well done. And the role that he's stepping into, I think he's going to be very successful, and we're excited about his leadership, both at the main campus and how it will affect us here in Twinsburg. A long-term business in Twinsburg, actually Reggie started off at the fitness center 20 years ago teaching little kids karate, but also teaching little kids that they have to behave themselves both at home and school if they want to participate in his class. And so I've known him for a long time. With the Karate Institute, has moved locations and gone into a new facility, and I was able to go to their ribbon cutting. But I was able to congratulate him, who's really been a long-term friend and has impacted so many young kids in this community. So it was neat to be part of that. I did attend the truck retreat. Again, I think this was our biggest one yet. Thanks Service Department, Fire Department, police for all being there and helping out. But we ran out of balloons, which is almost impossible to do, but we did. It was a good time though. Another event I attended was the Chiari Singro Maelia charity dinner, and I think it was the biggest one she's ever had. She had, I think, 475 people attend at the Hilton, and my daughter has syndromyelin. She's got a cyst in her spinal cord, so it really hits home for me. So it's one of the things that we always participate in and enjoy going to. But it was just a fantastic event. I think she raised more money than she ever has. So, but anyway, I always want to thank her for being part of that and for keeping that organization, focused on a cure there. We have a new CBO that will be at the next meeting, so council will get a chance to hear probably a short report, but more of an introduction. Keith Falks came from us from Euclid, so we're excited about him joining the department and what he's going to do here in Twinsburg. And then on the 18th, I was invited to come out to O'Reilly. He's going to do a grand opening out there. So we're excited to get that business up and operational. Again, this is a 450,000 square foot facility with about $11 million worth of payroll for the city of Twinsburg. So it's going to be a great addition to Cornerstone. I also want to congratulate those who, again, decided to run. Sam Scafidi, Bill, Joanne. Also want to thank the ones that also ran, Brian, Tim here, because it is a challenging, I guess, circumstance you put yourself in to seek office. It affects you, it affects your family, it affects everything that you get involved in. It's emotionally draining, it's physically draining, and it was, I think we all experienced that all summer long. So, but I think those that have chosen to be a public servant and do the things that we do, again, as I shared with a lot of residents, it's a great job. It's a very challenging job. Whether you're sitting in my seat or you're sitting as a councilman, we make tough decisions for the community. But we just have to follow our heart and work through it, and hopefully at the end all works out. And then I also want to mention, I went to the Ohio Municipal League conference this year. I usually go, I've looked at it in the past, and I usually go to the Planners Conference. This year I decided to go, and I'm really glad I did. And I think Sarah was there. She was at the finance section, and I'm not just making this up. She said, I really said the events that I went to and the presentations were some of the best I've ever been to. One in particular was on diversity in the workforce, and that's something that was brought to me when I first came on as mayor, and that we've worked really hard at the city, and it's really challenging, but again, I think trying to get more diversity in the workforce is something that we still have to stay so focused on and continue to do. And this seminar was a great presentation. It really challenged us to be uncomfortable in our discussions as we talk about that. And I just, I really enjoy it and would love to I guess, further that here at the city with our departments and as I go into this next term. So it's something that I think was really a focus and has continued to be a focus, and hopefully, you know, can continue to make changes here at the city of Twinsburg as we move forward. And then lastly, stepping into this role, I get the opportunity to work with a lot of great people. We have about 190 full-time employees, probably another 100 part-time employees, and as much as you get to know on council, you really don't get to know the departments and the people and what they do, and it has taken me some time, and I'm kind of disappointed in myself that I haven't done this before, but each year we recognize those with years of service at the community. We do an employee luncheon and we recognize all of them, but I've never recognized them here, and I'm going to do that tonight. And what's great about tonight rather than in past years is I'm going to go through a bunch of names, and I can picture the people, I can picture their desk, I know what they do, and that's a great part about the job that I get to do, and I get to know all these great people and work with them. So I'm going to read through a list tonight. I'll start off with Chris Campbell. He's got 35 years as with the city. He's our public service director. So I think that's the biggest number I got on here, Chris. It's 35. But he's been a great addition and great to work with. Colette, who's not here tonight. Now on my list it says 5 years. I know she's got more than 5 years with the city of Twinsburg. She was on council and she was HR director before. So we'll make sure we recognize her next time. In finance, we have Karen Brown, 15 years. We just stole her from the service department, but she's a great addition to our payroll and finance. Mark Kutowski, you can wave, Mark. Mark's got 15 years. Again, and so I think Mark's been a great employee here, and has kind of, when I took office, kind of transitioned his roles a little bit from straight IT to kind of social media and this new world we're all experiencing. So he's done a great job helping the city with that. Engineering, Joe Maniglia, you'll see him out on projects running around in an old beat-up truck, and I think we're going to get him a new truck this year. Dan Mazzaldo, so Dan is also out there. He's one of our plan review guys. He's got 25 years also with Joe. He's retiring this year, so he's going to be a big gap that we're going to have to fill. Fire department, we have Stan Bendis, 30 years. So he's the one running around our businesses, making sure everything is compliant. Joe D'Ambrosia, 15 years. Captain Gina Staub, she's got 20 years. Reggie Holden, 15 years. Shelley Hudak, 5 years, who's administrative assistant at fire department. So you see her float in and out, but she really keeps them in order over there. Joe Sugar, 5 years. Captain Simon's got 30 years. In police department, we've got Dan Beata, who's got 25 years, patrolman, now is a resource officer at Dodge and Chamberlain, so you'll see him around there. Ron Good, who was here tonight, is one of our long-term dispatchers at 25 years. Greg Komnitsky, who is now back in DB, but was also a resource officer at the schools. Tom Mason, our lieutenant, 25 years. Loretta Nash, 30 years, long-term dispatcher. You guys probably know Loretta. Sergeant now, Ternowski's got 15 years. We swore him in tonight. Terry Wayne, 20 years. Service department, Tom Alder, 15 years. You guys, if you work out at the fitness center, you see him early in the morning over there. Tom Malik, he's a mechanic, 20 years. Kevin DuPont, 20 years. Steve Fiorino, 5 years. Gary Foote, our electrician, who makes everything light up here at the city, 15 years. Joe Kerrigan, one of our foremen, 30 years. Bobby Schultz, 20 years. We've got Chris Saminsky, 30 years. Frank Vernatsky, 15 years. And then at wastewater, Matt Fetchko, 5 years. Matt was a football player for Twinsburg, and we were fortunate to keep him around. Aaron Hicksbach, 5 years. He's our chief operator at the wastewater treatment plant. Brian Sorasi, 15 years. Jamie Terry, 10 years, who makes sure you get your bill on time. Parks and Rec and Fitness, Stanley Stein, who's our naturalist. He's got 20 years. Laura Seifert, who, if you know anything about the senior center, you see her bouncing around like crazy. 15 years. T.L. Thogmorton, it says Thomas, but I don't know who Thomas is. He's got 20 years, so he's been there since it opened. And then Becky Thomas, she's got 5 years. She's a receptionist there. But all these employees, it just, you know, it's makes my job enjoyable on a daily basis. I get to know them all, get to know a little bit about them, and it's nice to be able to recognize them for their continued years of service here in the city. So thank you for allowing me to do that this evening. And that's all I have. We'll go into department head reports. Chris, you want to start?
Good evening, Council. Well, I started in 1979. I was a little bit thinner, a lot taller, and had a lot more hair. So, and here we are today. Well, the service department will go on to their shift coverage on December the 8th, and that's when we'll be on 24-hour coverage, 5 days a week. With that in mind, we're trying to finish up a bunch of our projects, our late summer and fall projects. A couple things I wanted to report on. Branch chipping, we completed our final round of the year, and for that round we had 423 stops. So totals for 2019 we had 4,214 stops. So that's a program that's well utilized. We're in the middle of leaf removal. We're in our third round. And so far, we have accumulated over 800 stops in that program. So once we get through fighting the snow, then we'll be back out there, and we'll be doing that pickup to the end of the year, weather permitting, obviously. At this point, with snow and ice removal, we are on a call-in procedure. And today, for example, we had 9 trucks out today doing what they do. So we will continue with that. Hopefully, we're not going to be fighting as much snow, and we can get back to finishing some of these projects. One of the areas that we've been hitting is the areas by the railroad tracks, the delineators, and we're fighting that pretty heavy. We got through the city one complete time this year as far as getting everything replaced, and it lasted, a matter of hours. But we're going to keep on it, keep records, and see what we need to do there. They're in a bad area. So we have one area on Darrow Road that we need a guardrail replaced. We've got that's with a contractor. We don't replace those guardrails, but we've got a contractor, and we were waiting for him to get that work done. Storm area checks and all the other things that we do in the fall. So concentrating on the fleet right now. Fleet looks like it's in good shape for the start of the winter season, and the guys are ready to go. So that's our next big challenge, and we'll keep working on that. And that's my report.
Thanks, Chris. Do you know when the contractor's going to do the guardrail?
No, I don't have a date. That's a tough one. They
Okay.
They don't give us a date on that. So,
Okay.
but we can check. I'll check and see.
I had a resident that asked me about it.
Okay. All right.
Chris, I know last year we had, there was issues around salt and, being able to get enough, and are those issues, we're not dealing with those issues this year?
Now, we'll always deal with that. Because
not to the degree that we did last year? Is that
well,
fair?
see, the thing is, when you go into a program, you have to commit to a certain volume of salt. The problem becomes it's a moving target, but like this year, we're already worried that we might not have enough salt because this season has started off with such a bang. You're fighting that most of the years. Our supplier this year is Morton. We went in with the ODOT program. I'm not sure. I don't know of any problems that Morton had with.
Yeah, we had supply issues last year, right?
Yeah, and that was with Cargill, and they had some mine issues.
Okay.
But I'm not aware of any problems that Morton had, but it just, now, they may do well, but we're probably, going to bump up against this number that we've, we've committed to. So we'll have to see. And then, once you get into the really heavy part of the winter and it really starts to snow, I mean, what we had today becomes more common. Getting salt, even if they've got supplies, is very difficult because they're supplying everybody at that point. So you always go through that time where it's tough to get salt.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
sure.
What's the salt cost a ton?
$74.29, I think.
Okay, because it's been in the 60s in the past, but it's been in the hundreds.
For us, the last few years, it's really gone up. I mean, we were in the $40 range just a few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got a couple barges last year. I
Yeah,
think at
that's
100.
that's when we hit the
Egyptian
100.
barges. Salt,
Yeah.
Yeah. And that became out of necessity because we couldn't get salt.
Yeah.
So,
I have a couple
We're
things.
having fun with that.
First of all, thank you for all the hard work that you do keeping our roads clean. So I had a question on the delineators. Are there different options since the ones that we have are always fighting, trying to keep up? And my other question is, who's responsible for the fire hydrants that have the yellow ribbons on them? Not really ribbons, but...
yeah, right.
You know what I mean.
Actually, the fire department, when they go through and they do all their flushing in the year, they put together a list of hydrants that need to be replaced, hydrants that need to be repaired. They send it to us, and this year's list we sent on to Cleveland Water, and we're working with them to get the form down, Pat, that's most useful to them. And we just sent that list in, and they're looking at it. And that used to be Dennis Cabala. He used to, from the building department, used to send it in. So we're going to do that through the Public Works Department. We'll probably work with the fire chief on that a little bit, and we'll get our process reestablished and get that, get that relationship with Cleveland going, because I really don't know, once a list like that goes in, how long it takes Cleveland Water, because it's up to them to do the repairs or replace them. So.
Thank you. And then the delineators.
The delineators, I mean, there are different models. I mean, there's, but they all basically work the same way. They're on like a spring.
Okay.
So when you hit them, they go down, but they only can go down so far, So I think any style that you put in there is going to get hit, and it's going to get broken. So I don't know. There are other styles out there.
Well, I know you're doing a hard job, trying to keep them all up and in good shape, but...
Yeah, it's an ongoing.
It's ongoing, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, thank you.
Chief?
Good evening. For the month of October, the fire department responded to 259 calls for service. That brings us up to a total of 2,448. That's about 100 calls, or 4% ahead of last year's pace. And the most notable event this past month was we happened to have 4 overdose calls, which was a little bit high for us. Fire prevention completed 33 inspections and worked on 5 fire investigations. And also we did 15 hours of public education, contacting almost 1,000 people. And of course that included the open house. We also completed 122 training sessions, totaling over 700 hours of training. The weather warning sirens were tested on November 2nd, and they all worked properly. And also during the month of October, we completed our annual pump testing on all the trucks, and they passed their tests. And we also did our annual hose testing, all our 5-inch, 2.5-inch, and 1 3/4, over 3 miles of hose. Just to put that into context, I guess. The department also, the majority of the members completed a recertification in international trauma life support training. And as you were all present, Earl Wilson was promoted to lieutenant on the 22nd. And through the course of the month, we also added 2 part-time members, Wilson Wojsowicz and Brendan Volker, which brings us up to 13 part-time members.
What's your goal?
I was looking at maybe 16 to 20, and it really depends on how much time each of them is able to commit. And that varies seasonally, and of course, a lot of these are young kids or younger individuals, and then they get married and have kids, and so there's always fluctuation. But 16 to 20 was kind of the goal I was shooting for.
Thank you.
And finally, I just wanted to do a couple thank yous. I wanted to just thank the community at large for coming to our open house again in October. It was a great event once again, and we just appreciate and are encouraged by all the support we're shown in that regard. And again, for the support we got as we celebrated our 100th anniversary on the 18th. I want to thank the mayor and some of the council people that were in attendance for that, but just another fun event. It was nice to get a lot of our past members together and just tell stories and just spin yarns, but it was an enjoyable evening, and just wanted to thank our local vendors that helped support that as well. That's my report for this evening.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
All right. Amy?
Good evening. I'm here to give you an update on the construction that's still going on in the city, which consists really of one project other than street tree planting, which will be done in the next 2 weeks. And that's on State Route 91. As of today, from the project manager from ODOT, basically the contractor is still continuing to work at the roundabout landscaping and irrigation, bricks on Glenwood, and a punch list. The punch list is composed of about 20 items that ODOT put together, whether it be small or big, and then a couple days later we went out after we had their punch list and came up with another 20 more items. The most significant that we noted was landscape addressing stuff along the edges where we stopped and where the residential properties back up and associated with that, along with other things. So we basically clarified that we wanted that all cleaned up. They'll continue working as other permits. The electrical contractor will be back out again tomorrow, I was told. There are 4 lights that will go at the roundabout proper itself. There are some lights on Ethan Drive that need to be re-erected, as well as uplighting in the center medians, Meadowwood and Ethan's, that was to be removed and re-erected, so it still needs to be erected. Striping, if you saw, they went out and temporary kind of got it pre-readied last week. Unfortunately, we had snow and ice on Friday when they had it kind of on the schedule. We will be looking at a paint striping this year. We were using thermoplastic. In the spring, they'll come back and do the appropriate measures, and they will be required to make sure that lasts throughout the winter. That is, kind of hold the snow, but I've been told end of week, next week, it's supposed to get into temperatures. The problem with that was when we resurfaced in October, there was an accident in Brook Park area where pavers, the stripers from the company that actually is striping a lot of the city were struck by a automobile, and one was killed and one was seriously injured. So that put state pretty much northeast Ohio kind of behind on the striping. And since we were able to open everything up with barrels, that's how we say we ended up in. Not an excuse, just so everybody understands why we're kind of where we're at. The goal is to, like I said, get it striped as soon as they can. And they've got it pretty much ready to go.
Is all the asphalt or top surface?
The top surface has been put down. The top surface is a rubberized component. It does better with heat. The subcontractor that did the asphalt, I've never been happy with anywhere they've done our joints in the city, so you can really see those where they come together pretty good. There is comments on their punch list associated with some things they need to do to adjust or correct measures out there.
Could you say that again?
Where their seams come together.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and I've always, that contractor, the subcontractor that's done the asphalt, I always have had issues with seams, and that is,
Okay.
in the industry, the general problem with most asphalt contractors. They don't take the same care that it seemed like 20 years ago they took. I always stress it at the
I
beginning.
thought I saw some seams that were hundreds
Yeah.
of yards long.
Yeah. Yeah, and you actually see them out on Ravenna Road as well when they did it.
Okay.
The part about that we're hoping that when the heat comes up next summer, because it is a rubberized product, that it'll be a little bit better. And then once the striping goes down, right now you see that because there's no striping as well, that the wear and tear. But they do have some joint repair to do with the project. I'm not overly happy with it as well, but in the end, it's the rideability of it is fairly, I don't notice it in my rideability going up there. It's got a good riding surface. It's just not aesthetically as pleasing as I would.
But there's really nothing they can do at this point?
Like I said, on their list, they do have some joint repair required. At a meeting on Thursday with ODOT, one of the last statement was that ODOT basically, because they have not completed everything, will review everything again in the spring to make sure that everything is completed and appropriate for the plans, the construction plans. On the list, like I said, has to deal with addressing with those joints, how we can address them. Again, there's not a whole bunch you can do. It's sealing joints properly, making sure that they don't unravel, and all those types of things.
Thank you.
So the striping will be done weather dependent next week-ish? Won't hold you to it, but okay.
Well, but I keep hearing that every few weeks. But
Okay.
that's really the window of opportunity,
Okay.
and they will be they've kind of changed the product to go to a paint through the summer
Okay.
and go on.
So when they do that, the
to the
barrels
winter.
will be removed?
Yes.
And then the lighting would
The
come
lighting,
after that?
You should start to see, like I said, the electrician should be on site tomorrow.
Okay.
There was a back order from the manufacturer on the particular poles that were at the roundabout, industry-wide. They did come in last week. That was the third reschedule when they would come in, but they are in, and I was told the electrician should be out there working on that. So I would assume all that electrical work is going to take, the next 2 weeks
Okay.
to
So is
accomplish.
it fair to say then that with the exception of landscaping, within the next couple of weeks, we'll have a roundabout that is?
Yeah, and they will still
You
be
know.
working on landscaping,
Okay.
as much landscaping as they can. They have another couple weeks. The weather's supposed to go up to 40 degrees. A lot of the plantings that would go in would be dormant,
Sure. Okay.
Amy, I think you answered this already, but it seems like there's a couple of lights perhaps that are not functioning between the Meadowwood and the Glenwood roundabouts, which is overhead lights. That area seems very dark. Is that? Is that
I
part
can
of
look,
this, or is
no,
that
I can
something
look at the lights. What we did, that area has got intermittent Cobra lighting that was there. It's not like your street lighting that we have every 150 feet. When we did Glenwood, we increased the lighting at the roundabout.
Okay.
So what we're doing at Meadowwood or Ethan's area, like I said, there'll be, right now there's one Cobra arm up there. There'll actually be one on each of the 4 quadrants.
Okay.
So it will improve the lighting up there considerably. And then, like I said, they never re-erected on Ethan's area the poles that were on the north side of that as well, and those should be re-erected.
Well, let's take a look at it.
Amy, who did that paving? Who's the contractor or subcontractor?
Sugar and Valley Paving.
I kind of agree with you. I go through there and look at it and think it doesn't look like it's visibly done. They just look like there should be another course on top.
It's a thin, rubberized, it's tough to work with. They had some issues, but like I said, I've never been overly happy with joints. It's one of the things I stress on every job.
Yeah. Okay. It is what it is, but I can see people looking at it. Okay.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay. Sarah?
Good evening, Council. In Finance, we're continuing to work with the performance audit team. We're just about done gathering the comparable community information, and Lori will be out next month with an update on their progress. Interest earnings through October 31st are $206,000. We're up 27.4% over our interest earnings last year. We were at $161,000. Operating and budget presentations will continue at this month's Finance Committee meeting. The November meeting, we're going to have Chris Campbell there to do service and wastewater, and Derek Schroeder for fitness and parks and rec. And the October financials were finalized last week, and they're available online. That's all I have.
Thank you.
That's all we have?
Okay. Next, we're on to legislation. First is Ordinance 87, 2019.
An ordinance amending the revolving petty cash funds for various departments, repealing all ordinance in conflict therewith,
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 87, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Barr seconds. Any discussion?
This establishes some petty cash accounts for the banquet facility, the fitness center, and the golf course. Because petty cash is needed at those areas to do transactional payments.
Start the day. Anything else? Shannon, please call roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 87, 2019 passes 7-0, or 6-0, excuse me. Next is ordinance 88, 2019.
An ordinance amending section 1105.01 of the codified ordinances of the city of Twinsburg regarding the definition of family as it applies to residential districts in the city.
Call for
I make a motion to adopt.
Yeah. Call for
Yeah,
motion.
I know. Do you want to do it? Go ahead.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 88, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I believe that on the advice of our law director and the ruling in Bowling Green regarding the definition of family, that we are going to vote to kill this and relook at how we can address issues with sober homes in the future.
Okay. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Fury?
No.
Mr. Scafidi?
No.
Mr. Steele?
No.
Mr. Bellin?
No.
Mr. Barr?
No.
Ms. McFerrin?
No.
Ordinance 88, 2019 fails 6-0. Next is resolution 92, 2019.
A resolution acknowledging council's receipt and review of the monthly financial statements submitted by the Finance Department for April, May, and June 2019.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 92, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion?
Simply acknowledgement that we received the April, May, and June financial documents from the Finance Department.
Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Resolution 92, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is resolution 93, 2019.
A resolution acknowledging council's receipt and review of the monthly financial statements submitted by the Finance Department for July, August, and September 2019.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 93, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion?
Just an additional quarter of financial documents.
Next 3 months.
Pardon me?
It's the next 3 months.
Yes.
Okay. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. Bellin?
Yes.
Okay, resolution 93, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is ordinance 94, 2019.
An ordinance approving a change order to the contract with Barbicas Construction Company Incorporated for additional work related to the 2019 road program and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to declare ordinance 94, 2019 an emergency and place it on its third and final reading. Is there a second?
Second?
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any discussion?
The reason for the emergency is that this is a change order for the Ashdale Drive construction, and we need to pay the bill.
Any? Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency passes 6-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 94, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. McFerrin seconds. Any discussion?
The total for the Transfer is, streets and highways is $55,776, and the storm sewer fund is $29,525.
Okay. Anything further? Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ordinance 94, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is ordinance 95, 2019.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 18, 2019, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2019, and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to declare ordinance 95, 2019 an emergency and place it on its third and final reading. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Barr seconds. Any discussion?
The reason for the emergency is that we want to transfer money to fund the streets and highway from the previous ordinance out of the land and development, so it's a zero sum on this. It's just moving money from one account to the other. But we'd like to do that quickly so that we have money to pay the last bill.
Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency passes 6-0. Next, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 95, 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any further discussion?
Like Mr. Fury said, we're moving $35,693 from land development into streets and highways for a no net change in the overall city budget, just some housekeeping.
Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Ordinance 95, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is ordinance 96, 2019.
An ordinance accepting the quote from Cintas Corporation for the uniform and floor mat rental service contract and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to declare ordinance 96, 2019 an emergency and place it on its third and final reading. Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion?
The reason for the emergency is that we don't want to wait 30 days before we can renew this 3-year contract with Cintas for uniforms for wastewater, service, and golf course maintenance.
Plus floor mats and stuff.
And
Floor
carpet
mats and
mats,
floor
yeah.
mats, excuse me.
Okay. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Okay. The emergency passes 6-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 96, 2019. Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Mr. Scafidi seconds.
Yes.
Any further discussion?
The amount of the contract is $19,000 a year, and it was competitively bid, and this was the low bidder, and we're maintaining the same company.
Shannon, please call the roll.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry. If I could just correct that, it wasn't competitively bid from the stamp, it was lowest, it was a, met the minimum bid requirements, or on the state and the national, we went to a national bid list, so
Correct.
it did comply with that, and that's why it was not competitively bid.
My mistake.
It's all right.
But
Just
he
wanted
looked
to-
at other
just wanted to
sources,
correct
and
that.
this was the better deal.
Correct,
So we just didn't arbitrarily renew a contract without looking for a better deal.
correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency passes 6-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 96, 2019. Is there a second?
We just did the adoption, I think.
that.
That was the
We did that?
adoption,
Yeah.
Brian. Yeah.
We adopted, I'm sorry. Okay. Next, we're on to 97, 2019.
An ordinance amending section 149 of the codified ordinances of the City of Twinsburg regarding fees and deposits.
Okay, that's its first reading. Stands on its first reading. Next is ordinance 98, 2019.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 18, 2019, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2019.
And that also stands on its first reading. Next is ordinance 99, 2019.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 18, 2019, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2019.
That also stands on its first reading. Next is ordinance 100, 2019.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 18, 2019, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2019.
That stands on its first reading. Next is ordinance 101, 2019.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 18, 2019, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg the year 2019.
That also stands on its first reading. Last is resolution 102, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Rock the House Entertainment Group Incorporated to provide tax incentives under the terms and conditions of the Twinsburg Occupancy Program.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 102, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Mullin seconds. Any discussion?
This is a top agreement for a company that wants to come to Twinsburg from Oakwood Village. We met with them, and so I think they're looking for some incentives to help facilitate their move. I'd be excited to have this company in town, and hopefully we can get them here. So I'd ask council to approve this.
Okay.
The amount of revenue payroll they're bringing in from Oakwood is $2.5 million a year.
And they were here at the start. They were up on 82 for a long time, but they need a building. Okay. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Okay, next is unfinished business, new business, and miscellaneous.
I just had one quick thing. I was honored to be asked to present this past week at Dodge Middle School for Career Day. I presented to 4 classes that morning. I had wonderful questions from all 4 classes. Believe it or not, municipal government is not sometimes something that's super intriguing to 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, but I appreciate being asked. The classes were great. It really was a good event. Nothing further this evening. Thank you.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Fury.
St. Rita's is having an exceptional Christmas party for those friends and family of special needs of all ages. All faiths and their families are invited. It's going to be held at Saturday, December 7th at Masnick Hall in Solon. It's from 1 to 3 p.m. This is their 8th year of doing this. It's run by a teacher who has been 20 years as a special education teacher at Solon. Again, this is a non-denominational, it's just an event to help the families of special needs people celebrate Christmas. There'll be games, there'll be prizes. If you're interested, you can call Kelly Foraker at 440-248-1350. Or there's information on the St. Rita website. Again, that's December 7th at Masnick Hall from 1 to 3 p.m. Thank you.
Mr. Barr.
Again, I'd just like to remind everybody, there's a public hearing planned Tuesday, December 10th here at 6:30 p.m. in council chambers. And again, this is for public consideration of the approval for the R7 site plan for Wilcox Meadows, as was reviewed and recommended by the planning commission. So again, this is an opportunity to make your voices heard, and we hope to see you there. That's all I have, sir.
Ms. McFerrin.
I just want to say how proud I am of the VFW post here, and thankful to everyone who's made the Shop with a Cop program so successful, and congratulate our sergeant on his promotion. And I would like to take the opportunity to thank Ward 3 for their support in re-electing me. I'm grateful that Election Day was last Tuesday and not this Tuesday. That's all I have.
Okay. Mrs. Walker, congratulations. I think you're doing a great job. Okay. It's something you've wanted to do for a long time, and I think you're going to do a wonderful job. The other thing is, I saw something. Anybody see the same thing Friday night? There's a high school playoff football game here in town, and it's Mentor versus whoever, Warren Harding or something like that in Kent McKinley. They were looking for people to help park and do all the other stuff, and if you get done with that, you might want to go in and watch, because this should be one heck of a high school football game. The other and last thing I have to say is the snow today is unpredictable, or was unpredictable. We don't know when it's going to snow, where it's going to snow in the city. I've been out there on the streets working where it's been snowing like crazy out on Liberty Road, and it hasn't been snowing over here in front of City Hall. But the one thing everybody should take from today, you have to drive for the conditions. Okay, unfortunately, there were I think 3 or 4 accidents in Northeast Ohio where people were injured, and also there was a couple of fatals. You have to be responsible for driving your car. You can't look at the city or wherever you're at and think that they're going to get the roads totally clean for you. It's up to you. You're driving the car, your responsibility. With that, we need to excuse our absent member.
I'll say a couple words first.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just pivoting off of that, I did talk to a couple residents today that it's the first snowfall. I know Friday was also an event we had, but yeah, we call guys in. We go on, as Chris talked about, we put guys on shift December 1st. So I know last night we brought guys in on a holiday from 7 to midnight to pre-salt, do a lot of things. And then we brought them back in at 4 this morning to start running 9 trucks around the city and salting. And we got a lot of snow in a short amount of time. And again, as Mr. Steele said, it's a lot more drivers than it is trucks that are causing issues out there. So be safe, slow down, be careful. There's always an adjustment period when we start having snow events. So, but we'll get through it. Next, I want to congratulate Ms. Walker on her new role as a councilman. Look forward to working with you. I look forward to working with all council. I'm excited about what we can do the next 4 years. It's going to be challenging, but I think we can all work as a team and get through it. So I know, you know, you've been a public servant for a long time, you know, so it's just another role that you get to experience and participate in, but I'm excited to have you here. And then lastly, I want to thank my wife Sharon for coming to a meeting. She's still awake over there, so it's great. I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong estimated time on when we'd be done, but you know, she comes once every 4 years, whether she needs to or not. But anyway, that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Next, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Mrs. Stauffer.
I'll second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury.
I would go to that football game, but Mrs. Stauffer's son plays for Benedictine, and they are also in the state playoffs, and he's a senior, so I think I'm going to the Benedictine
Where's
game.
that?
I'm not sure yet. I was just looking at the Ohio State Athletic website and looking at the regions, but it's going to be it's not going to be too far away because they're regionals right now.
Okay. Well, for those of you who are interested in staying in town and not traveling, or if you want to travel, Mr. Fury is offering to take you to the game with him.
Hey.
Okay.
Sit in a tree, go to a football game in the snow. What are you going to do?
All right. We're adjourned. Let's go home. Good night, guys. Be safe getting home.